through. I don't know. All of us have been through something. Then we've come out of it at some point. But my question to you is: have you been to prison? This is Now Tell Us, and I'm your host, Anthony Murore. At Now Tell Us, we have guests come and tell us stories. They come and inspire us. They come and educate us on a subject that they are passionate about. And always we're having a great time. Let me remind you that if you would want to watch past and future episodes, you can always go to www.nowtellus.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, share this with all your friends. And as you are watching, if you have a question on what we are going to discuss today, you can always ask. Or you have a comment, please comment. We love feedback and we will appreciate your comment. And without taking one more minute, I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm going to invite you to come join me as we go to meet our guest today, who is known as Elizabeth Mikotowicz. Hope I got that right. She's going to tell us once she comes here. Who's going to tell us from prison to purpose? Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Elizabeth?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, it's an honor to have you here. Thank you for coming to Now Tell Us. We are
Yeah,
honored. Yeah,
thank
if
you.
I may start by asking you, where are you?
I'm in Texas. We just moved
Texas.
down here like 6 months ago from Maine. But I spent most of my life, in Maine. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I'm sorry, I was adopted to Brooklyn, New York from Illinois. I was born in Quincy, Illinois, only stayed there for like 6 days. And then when my father got a job at the University of Maine, we moved up there and I spent most of my childhood there. And, my parents that adopted me were very loving, kind, supportive people. And, I was really blessed. And I ended up meeting my biological family when I was 18. And once I got out on my own, I got into some really abusive relationships. Like when this man assaulted me, like it wasn't just smacking me around a few times. It was like I was going to the hospital with my skull showing,
Oh.
type of injuries. And
Mhm.
I found out I was pregnant that day when he hit me with the wooden dowel, like right above my right eye. And you could see my skull when it happened. The brain damage was so bad that I started getting seizures and I would, wake up on the floor after being unconscious for, minutes, sometimes up to 10 minutes at a time. And I had a little girl who was only 14 months old. So now I was no longer like a safe caregiver for her, when I'm, constantly going out and losing consciousness and there's nothing I can do about it.
Mm.
The other thing was they prescribed me opioids for that injury. And initially I took it. But, when they told me I was pregnant and they sent me to the pain clinic, I was like, whoa, wait, I don't want to take this on a regular basis. Like, I don't want my
Mm.
baby to be addicted. I don't want to be addicted. They said, you're on too small of a dose to get addicted. And since you're pregnant, if you refuse, that will result in a call to CPS for refusing medical advice and neglecting your
Mm.
baby. And, you know, I noted I was on state insurance. So, I was on like poor people insurance, funded by the government. And, I noticed that I was treated a lot differently, compared to when I was on my parents' private insurance.
Mm.
And, that was kind of, very eye opening for me because, here I was, strolling through life thinking, oh, this is America and everybody's equal and it's the land of the free. And I was totally under, the illusion of white supremacy, that these issues were over with.
Mm.
And it took me going to prison to really see like what's really happening to marginalized communities and the BIPOC
Wow.
community, and it's absolutely
Wow.
horrifying.
Wow.
um so the abuse got worse, and I got strangled to the point my windpipe was damaged, and I would have these fits where it would collapse in on itself. It was like a
In
plastic, when you
prison.
have a plastic tube and you bend it, and it's like there's a crease in the tube. You can still straighten it out, but it's got that weak point. And that's what my vocal cords were, or my windpipe was literally closing in on itself. I would have to chug water just to be able to breathe. I mean, this was terrifying. And so I eventually went to Spruce Run, the battered women's shelter in Bangor, Maine. And they turned me away with
Now,
two beds.
let us go slow here. Let us go
Okay.
slow here, not to be lost. Now, you not only told us where you are right now, but you also told us where you are coming from. Now, you're talking about being strangled here and all that you went through. We,
Mhm.
what I didn't actually get is I mean, where you're being strangled. I mean, is it in prison? Is
Wait.
it from your
No, no, no.
husband?
This was before prison. This
Not
is
before
part of what.
prison. Okay. Okay.
Yes, I had never been in trouble at this point, and I only got in trouble once.
Mm.
This is 70% of women in America that are in prison have some sort of domestic violence or sexual assault in their past before they even
Mm.
go to prison. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we are the ones that society failed, and we slipped through the cracks because we were so desperate, and that's what happened to me. And this was, I went to the battered women's shelter begging for help because I just lost my apartment because of this man. I was in public housing, and they evicted me because the cops
Mm.
showed up.
Mm-hmm.
So they called me a liar because I had no emotions. I was just like in, shell shock, basically. He held a knife to my face when I was 8 months pregnant, and he said, "One more tear rolls down your cheek, I'm going to cut your face off." So
Mm.
after that, I wouldn't cry. I just instantly turn it off and bottle it up. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like shell shock mode. And they called me a liar at first because they said, "Well, women come in here and they're usually crying and emotional." And I'm like, "Sorry, I'm not most women. Like, what do you want?" And then they didn't believe me, so I went and I got my medical records. I went and I got the police reports, when they brought me to the hospital, and he got into a high-speed chase, and it was awful. Then they did a complete 180 and said, "Well, your situation is so dangerous and your injuries are so extensive that we can't have you here. It puts the
Mm.
other women in the shelter in danger." So,
Mm.
and this is a problem with victim based shelters in America. A friend of mine tried to get into the human trafficking shelter, and they told her that the only way they would take her is if she testified against her pimp. So you want victims to do your job as law enforcement. That's not a victim's job, it's law
Mm.
enforcement's job to catch these
Mm-hmm.
people. And the only way she can get safe, or housing, or into a shelter and get help, is if she puts herself in danger and testifies against these human traffickers. Like, that's ridiculous. And so
Mm.
basically it's like they're just trying to see what they can get out of these victims, whether it's media attention, or more funding, stuff like that. And then they're not
Mm-hmm.
helping the victims that really need it the most. And
Mm.
so, that was rock bottom for me right there.
Mm-hmm.
I made a deal with my father. If they wouldn't help me, I would sign my children over to him. Because if my ex showed up with the cops, my dad would have to hand them over. And I didn't want, to go through that hell of, trying to get my kids back from this man who kept trying to kill me and sexually assault me. And
Mm-hmm.
so once I did that, I lost my health care and food stamps, and all of my resources, basically. And they said the only way you can get healthcare is if you're pregnant. And I'm like, I'm just trying to be okay enough to get my kids back, and
Mm.
into housing and into a place. And if I were to get my kids back, I'd have to have a place ready for them, like ready to
Yeah.
go, place for both of them. And
Mm-hmm.
in order to get resources to do that, they have to be in my custody. So it's like a catch 22 when you're trying to get out of these situations. And
Mm-hmm.
so, drug dealers protected me. They gave me places to stay. They gave me places to hide. They defended me. They gave me drugs to sell. And, yeah, did they take advantage of my situation and pull me into a life, I didn't want? Yes. But, if they hadn't, like, I don't know where I'd be right now, honestly. Like,
Mm.
I could be dead if they hadn't done that. And so
Wow.
now I'm on the streets, and I'm so hardened from this trauma. Like,
Mm.
I didn't cry, I didn't back down, I wasn't scared to die. And so I developed a reputation, and I moved, up the chain pretty quickly. And I was getting involved with more and more dangerous people, and I was dealing with more and more weight. And eventually I caught charges in 2011.
For
And
what?
I'm sorry.
For what?
Trafficking, bath salts and other scheduled substances. This was one of the
Okay.
first bath salt cases in America. And the
Mm-hmm.
government was making money off the taxes. And Europe had banned bath salts a
Mm.
couple years before, but America didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They allowed this stuff to get on the shelves so they could make money off people and then get everybody addicted.
Okay.
We were like, hey, it's legal. How bad could it be? And I stopped selling all the other illegal drugs, and I stuck with this because I'm like, hey, it's legal. How much trouble can you get in? And I go to
Mm.
prison for the first time. Did I deserve
Mm-hmm.
it? Yes, because it was awful and it caused a lot of problems in my community. And, but at the same time, I was desperate. I was scared, and I just didn't know what else to do. I had exhausted all other options to try and get myself out of the situation. And,
Mm.
maybe there was more options out there, and I just couldn't find them, but I tried and I did everything I could before I went down this road. And that's what
Yeah.
people don't understand, is that,
Mm.
it's so hard to, survive in America. There's 29 empty properties for every homeless person in America.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
29. And,
29. And
that's
why
that's
does why don't they give them? Why don't they
because
take?
capitalism says somebody needs to profit off of it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
disgusting. It is a very predatory system, and it's destroying everybody.
Mm.
I was in college. I had plans. I didn't want to be a drug dealer. I wasn't trying to be some thug chick on the street. And that's what I turned into.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I went to jail in 2011 for the state charges, and then the feds picked it up in 2013, and I was held responsible for the same drugs again. So
Wow.
that it was not a new situation in 2013 when the feds picked it up. It was the
The same,
exact
the
same
same, the
drugs.
same
Yeah, the
exact
exact
same
same,
thing. And you are
the
still
exact,
inside? You were
yes,
still
the
inside?
exact same
For how
bust.
many years had you been convicted?
I got 3 years for it. And I was blessed to get 3 years. If I was a black woman or, a Spanish woman, they probably would have
Mm-hmm.
doubled or tripled that, honestly.
Okay. Yeah.
And that doesn't sit right with me at all.
Mm-hmm.
And my first week at Somerset County, I witnessed an entire pot of women get stripped out because they signed up to use a razor, and a male sergeant wanted a list of who shaved their vaginas and who didn't. Those that did were punished. And this is the
Mm.
PG stuff going on in American prisons. I mean,
Mm.
it is disgusting. I watched a woman go into labor, and they weren't going to take her to the hospital. The only reason they took her to the hospital is because 30 of us flipped out and threatened a riot. And then they told the girl, if this is a false alarm, you're going to go in the hole for wasting our time and money. If you don't want to pay for a pregnant woman's, medical care, don't have her in jail. And like, imagine being like, for all the women out there, like, who have had kids, like, Braxton Hicks, you have false labors. It happens. And you are going to punish a woman with solitary confinement
Mm.
because she had a false labor. I mean, that is sociopathic. And they love to talk about, oh, prisoners get free medical. Like,
That's what we see here. I mean, I'm not in America. I haven't been there, but this is all we know. I mean, everything is glossy there. I mean, you're staying in a good room. You have your TV there. You have your whatever it is you want to read, and then you get some good meals. So the only problem is that you don't have your freedom. Isn't it that way?
right. No, it's awful. The food comes in boxes that says not for human consumption on the side of it. Like, people get
What?
really, yes, the food, like the girls that work in the kitchen that bring the food in, the boxes on the side of it say not for human consumption. And people get, like, I watch so many gallbladders have to be removed, and they don't take you to the hospital until you're about to die.
Hmm.
So I've watched so many women die in there for very treatable things. Like 60% of the prison doctors in Alabama have lost their medical license. They're not, it's A doctor that has lost their medical license is allowed to work at prisons and native clinics. Like,
Wow.
this is disgusting. I mean, the blatant racism right there. I mean, you're going to let these people who have malpractice suits and who have killed people, work at prisons and work at native clinics. I
Wow.
mean, when I went to prison, I realized they were still committing genocide against, Black people, Native people. I met a handful of women that were being sterilized against their will in prison,
Mhm.
and not a single one of them was white. And now all of a sudden, with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, it's a great day for white lives in America. And this
Hmm.
was before Trump opened up the ICE camps. And, you heard about the refugee women being sterilized against their will. And, people were enraged about it and everything. They were doing this to American BIPOC women before
Hmm.
that.
Mhm.
They are still committing genocide. They don't even want us to, they don't even want to teach us the right history. They don't want us to know about the residential schools. I didn't even know about residential schools, where they
Mm.
took the native children, from the tribes and put them in these schools where most of them ended up dead. They're digging up mass graves right now. And,
Yeah.
when I went to the South, and not so much in the North, because there was, more than just, white people on the staff, but it was all white people
Okay.
down in, the South that was working at these jails. And just the tone of voice they would use on Black inmates, compared to me, like, it was just disgusting to watch. Like,
Mm.
I mean, like, yeah, it was
Interesting.
really
Interesting.
eye-opening
Because
for
yeah,
me.
we don't hear it until something nasty happens. Like a few years ago when we had, I mean, yeah, we've had a few incidences, but we think that those are in the minority. So you want to tell me that it's that scary, and not only out there but also inside there where you have no one to defend you.
No. And it's the
Uh-huh.
cops that are supposed to protect you. And,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sit here and say that all cops are bad, blah, blah, blah. That's not the agenda I'm trying to push. Because
Mm-hmm.
honestly, for every cop that tried to hurt me or, oppress me in some way, there was another risking their job trying to make it stop. And that's a problem in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Bad behavior gets rewarded in law enforcement. And, it's really destroying people. I mean, you know, like, there was a Somalian inmate when I was in solitary at Cumberland County, and they would beat her every day until she urinated on herself. She didn't
Mm-hmm.
do anything wrong. Like, they
Mm-hmm.
just did not like her. And I thought they were going to kill her. Like, honestly, one day they would not stop beating her to the point I was like, I'm going to listen to them murder this woman. Like,
Wow.
and these are the things you have to watch in jail. And it's not just in a couple jails in Maine, because I went from Maine to all the way to Oklahoma. The feds took me on a whole tour. I got to see it all. And, that you get paid $5.25 a month for working 40 hours a week.
Mm.
And this is what the American prison system is about. We make up 25% of the global incarceration population. They're
Mm-hmm.
gaslighting us with land of the free and all that bull BS. And we make up 25% of the entire Earth's incarceration population. We're only 5%
Mm-hmm.
of the world. I mean, that is a very high number. And people are
That's a
probably
high one.
wondering
It's a high one.
why.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, they've bypassed slavery laws with their prison system,
Okay.
because they pay us $5.25 a month, like I said, but a hospital saves $350,000 a year contracting with prisons to have inmates wash their linen instead of paying
Mm.
regular Americans minimum wage, not even a living wage, just a
Mm-hmm.
minimum wage. And over the pandemic, there's a reason why all these prisons across America were taking out PPP loans. They were adding wings onto their prisons to get more beds. The corporations want a free workforce. They don't want to pay us. They
Mm-hmm.
would rather round us all up, lock us up, and put us to work
Mm-hmm.
for pennies a day. And it's really, even the GED system, when you go to prison, if you don't have a high school diploma or a GED, they make you take the GED. That's great if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a GED. But what was happening is they were making $2,000 for every inmate that enrolled in the GED, and another $2,000 when they graduated.
Whoa.
So inmates can't get, like, as an inmate, I can't look up, where my old high school was.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a phone book. We don't have phone books. We don't have internet. We don't have the resources to do this. And if
Nothing.
people don't have, well, I mean, you could have somebody on the outside get it for you, but not everybody has that option. And
Okay.
some of these,
And is it
some of
law?
these,
Is it legal, or is it? Are they going to hide it, or what?
no, well, what happens is they tell these women you have 60 days to get us your high school transcript or GED, or you're going to take the GED.
Mm-hmm.
So we had women with PhDs and doctorates and, very high levels of education being
Mm-hmm.
forced to take the GED. And
Okay.
then they would cut corners again and have the really, highly educated inmates teach the inmates that actually needed the GED. So,
Okay.
this is just free money for them. It's one
Ah.
big money pit. And,
Oh,
I
I
want,
get it.
like,
I get
they
it.
put you to
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they put you to work. And, a friend of mine, she slipped on the ice shoveling snow. That was
Mm-hmm.
her job.
Mm-hmm.
By the time they took her to the hospital, her bone had fused back together and they had to re-break it.
Wow.
I mean, it is barbaric, the things they put inmates through.
Oh, wow, wow. This quite horrifying stories.
Yeah.
How long did you stay there?
I moved around a lot. Like they transferred me to different jails, but
Yeah.
I was at Alderson for over a year. And oh, so when I was at Somerset County, they have illegal cameras inside the SMU units, the
Mm-hmm.
solitary units.
Mm-hmm.
So they forced me to strip in front of them under duress of being maced, extracted, and beaten the whole 9 yards. When they extract you, they show up 12 deep, all in their SWAT gear, electric shock shields, batons, mace, rubber bullets. They will throw canisters in your cell that are basically gas bombs, and
Mm-hmm.
they go through the vents, so even the inmates who aren't pissing them off are getting hit with this. And
Mm-hmm.
I've never been in a cell that was directly hit, but I've been in the pod when a cell was hit. And let me tell you what, it's terrifying to be
Mm-hmm.
locked in somewhere and you can't breathe. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, they'll come in with all that. So that's what I was up against if I refused to not strip in front of these cameras. So when I went to
Okay.
Alderson, I filed a PREA complaint against them. That stands for Prison Rape Elimination Act. So anything sexual goes under a PREA complaint. When
Okay.
they got the response back, Somerset County admitted to everything I was complaining about, and they deemed it unfounded. So it wouldn't go to an outside source. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how one of the ways they're bearing the abuse. They'll just be like, yep, we did it, and then deem it unfounded, and then it's done.
Mm-hmm.
So Alderson wouldn't even allow me to hold this piece of paper in my hands to read it myself. They read it to me and told me I couldn't have a copy, I couldn't send it home, I couldn't have it, period. When I got out, I contacted the Freedom of Information Act to try and get a hold of this complaint. They couldn't even find it. And
Mm-hmm.
then the captain at Alderson and four of his subordinates, Captain Grimes, y'all can go look it up, they all got convicted of raping and stalking inmates and tampering with PREA evidence. I wasn't even close to their worst victim.
Whoa.
And this is the problem with institutions. They're allowed to do their own investigations
Mm-hmm.
and they don't care about inmates.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched so many, couple year bid for a nonviolent inmate turn into a death sentence because they just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is one of the bills that I'm pushing for right now. That for every day they stonewall an inmate on the paperwork, it's like a $500 fine. There
Mm-hmm.
needs to be a consequence for when they don't follow the law, because by
Mm-hmm.
law they have to give me that paperwork if I request it. Like I requested my medical records and everything, they wouldn't give it to me.
Yeah.
So, and this causes a problem because I had to go through the same psych meds over that put me in psychosis because I couldn't prove I had already been on it. Like this
Mm-hmm.
causes a lot more problems than just trying to get justice for horrible things they do.
Mm.
So this is one of the bills I'm pushing for right now, that they get a financial something for every day they stonewall an inmate.
Okay.
They're just and I don't. It's not just jails. It's the military, the colleges. It's big institutions that have too
Mm-hmm.
much power, and they put their reputation over people's safety and sanity and everything else. And this is
Mm.
not what America should stand for. These
Mm.
institutions, at the end of the day, it's just a big building.
Yeah, let's go a bit back to your case with drug experimentation or maybe overdose. How high did you go, and when did you ever stop? How is it in today's world with
Like with the
Elizabeth?
what do you mean, like how high I went, like how intoxicated I got?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, and
I
how did you?
overdosed.
Yeah.
I
And
overdosed.
are you
That was
through?
that
Are
was
you
scary.
through? I mean, you still use?
I'm sober now. I've been sober
Oh,
five and a
that's
half
good.
years.
It's a good
Yeah, no,
report.
I don't. I
How
stopped
long have
hanging
you been sober?
out 5.5 years.
5.5
It'll be
years.
6 years in
Hmm.
December.
Okay.
So, I could count the time that I was in prison, like, because I went back on probation. When I got out, I had $1,300 worth of psych meds that the prison had me on, and I had no way to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, with psych meds are very dangerous if you just stop taking them. And I was on lithium at the time. Your heart
Okay.
can stop if you just stop
Mm-hmm.
taking it. It's a little more serious than, just being physically dependent on them. Like, some of these drugs will literally kill you. And,
Mm-hmm.
and they never want to talk about, if they give you the wrong one and it puts you in full-blown psychosis, or makes you suicidal, homicidal, like, what they don't ever talk about, when these psych drugs go horribly wrong. They never want to
Mm-hmm.
talk about that, and the
Mm-hmm.
doctor's never around when you get these side effects. So
Mm-hmm.
I was spacing my prescription drugs out, and literally every time I left my house, I had a panic attack. Being in prison, it's very, very shocking getting out.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, when I'd get in the car, it would feel like we were going 1,000 miles an hour, and like I'd look over and we were going 45. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, when you're in solitary, your brain literally slows down from the lack of stimulation. So, I spent a decent amount of time in solitary, not like years and years or anything like some people, but
Yes, and when you
it
talk
did
about
enough
solitary, what
damage.
exactly is it?
Solitary is 23 and 1. So you're locked in for 23 hours a day and you get 1 hour out. Sometimes they don't even give you an hour out. And in
Wow.
some facilities, when you do have an hour out, you are shackled, from your wrist to your waist to your feet. And you can't barely move. And
Mm-hmm.
horrible things go on in solitary. Like, that is where the most brutality happens, because
Mm-hmm.
those are the inmates they don't like, and they use solitary as, petty punishments.
Okay.
I mean, it's really, and when I was in solitary, I had a female sergeant telling me to kill myself. This is
Wow.
what they're doing to people with mental health issues. I was in full blown psychosis because they put me on the wrong medication,
Mm-hmm.
and I was already really, like, struggling, and this woman's in there telling me to kill myself. When I got out, it was in the paper that she told another inmate to kill themselves, and they had to cut that inmate down from a suicide attempt. So, and she still has her job. She's still getting her pension and everything.
Wow.
They convicted an 18-year-old girl for manslaughter because she was telling her boyfriend with mental health issues to kill himself, and he actually did it.
Mm-hmm.
And they charged her, and she got 18 months in prison. And good, she's sick. That never should have happened. But you're telling me you're going to lock up a sick 18-year-old girl, but an officer of the law can continuously get away with telling people with mental health issues to kill themselves, and she just gets to keep her pension on the taxpayer's dime. Like, this is what we're paying for, basically. And
Wow. Wow.
it's just,
Quite a story. Quite a story.
yes.
And we are almost over with our time, and we don't know exactly what it is that you're doing right now, apart from just
Oh,
pushing the bills.
well,
Tell us a bit of everything that you're doing now, because I know you're doing some good things
yes.
at
So
present.
not only am I working with Maine State reps and everything, I launched an environmentally friendly clothing brand based on my art. I went from painting murals in prison to having this beautiful feminine brand, and it comes in plus sizes. It's very inclusive. So, like, here's one of my bags,
Mm-hmm. Whoa.
and I've got shawls, I've got dresses, I've got, this one's going to be beautiful for summer. Like,
Okay.
I mean, and the thing that I really loved about the galleries, as women, we have like skinny and pretty shoved down our throats.
Mm-hmm.
We're told that we're only as valuable as we are skinny and pretty. And a lot of these brands will size their clothes really, really small.
Did you
And
paint
I've
all
watched a
those?
lot of my,
Did you paint them yourself?
yes, I paint all
Okay.
of these designs.
Mm-hmm.
These are
Oh,
all of
that's
my
beautiful.
paintings.
They're beautiful.
And so
Beautiful.
this brand, all of the clothes are actually a little bit bigger than your average brand. So I'm
Okay.
so happy about this because it's not going to affect people's like body dysmorphia issues and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. This is a shawl.
Yeah.
And oh, one of the bills that I did get passed in Maine is that all jails are mandated to now provide feminine hygiene products free of charge to women. So,
Mm.
yes, that is a problem. Women will literally make their own tampons in prison and get themselves sick. Like, this
Mm.
needs to be a law straight across the board. They get over $100 a day per
Mm-hmm.
inmate. They can afford to give us tampons and pads. And when they do
Oh.
have it on commissary, they jack the price up like triple what it is out here.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, we're working for pennies a day. Yeah, this is a pillowcase, by the way. So, there's placemats and, fun little stuff like that too. So I
Okay.
put like gold scales in for, drawing abundance and wealth and stuff like that.
Oh, beautiful. And I'm curious to know, did you also do your hat?
Oh, no, no, no. This is a metal militia hat.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
one of my favorites though.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and the other bill that or the other proposal that got turned into a bill and got passed was the housing problem was just exploding in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And these landlords were charging these outrageous application fees. And
Mm-hmm.
what they were doing is they get like 10, 20 application fees a week and get triple the rent. And they
Okay.
wouldn't even have to turn any, heat on, water, any of that. So
Mm-hmm.
they were just getting all this free money from, application fees and not actually renting the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So they passed a bill saying that you can only charge an application fee if a lease is signed. So that was, a good power to the people bill that got passed. And I'm really happy about it because, we spent over $1,000, just applying to these places and,
Okay.
just for them to tell us no. And it's so hard. And again, I'll say it again, there's 29 empty properties for every homeless person in America. But
Mm.
capitalism says they can't be filled unless if rich elite hoarders of, wealth make more money off of it. This is
Mm-hmm.
sociopathic. Everybody deserves healthcare. Everybody deserves housing. And the thing that really made it so that I could stay sober when I got out is Janet Mills took over from Paula Page in Maine, and she
Mm.
expanded Maine Care. So it didn't matter if I had kids or not. I could get health care. That
Okay.
allowed me to go to trauma counseling. That allowed me to, get mat treatment when I needed it. Then I got off of it. And I could fix my issues. And that was just the little, tiny little thing that just made it possible. It was really hard. It was a lot, there were times I was on the brink of relapsing, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. And it was
Mm-hmm.
just because, I had the options of not having to medicate myself. All these other countries have universal health care.
Mm-hmm.
America should too. And I don't care if someone's an immigrant or whatever. Like, it's so infuriating and like embarrassing to listen to these white supremacists be like, oh, they're jumping the border. And I'm like, yeah, what did our ancestors do? We plowed right over the Native Americans. And you know
Mm-hmm.
what? If we had colonized ourselves to be like natives, this country would be a much better place. We wouldn't have this rape culture. We wouldn't have a mass shooting every day.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wouldn't be addicted to pharmaceuticals. I will die on that hill. Like that, this would be such a better place if white people had, colonized to be like natives.
Mm.
And it's just like I'm so tired of watching this continue, in my country because it's like, we should have been over this. Like
Yeah.
this should not continuously be an issue. And now we're like in stage 7 of, mass genocide.
Mm-hmm.
I just watched a show. They just explained we're like on the 7th stage of, what that whole process is, like what Hitler did and all that. And it's terrifying. And it makes me sad because, the idea of America, was pretty great, but it was just, a dream that turned into a total nightmare, unfortunately.
Mm.
And,
Unfortunately.
I'm glad I made it out, but I'm still seeing so many people suffer. And,
Yes,
they
and we,
just,
we are glad. We are glad that you made it out, and we are happy at what you're doing right now. And my question is, how could the viewer help with the pushing of the bills? And the second question is about your design, your fashion. How can we also know more about it?
So I am on TikTok and I'm on IG, and both the handles are the same. It's EPM underscore art underscore 1111. And I also have a website. It's http colon slash www.legalarise.com slash en slash elizabeth dot Mikotowicz.
Now,
And if there are any stores out there that would like to carry my brand in their store, I do wholesale as well.
mm-hmm. Jose. So the closest website I came, I mean, the easiest way that I found it, because I was trying to search, was that legalist. I
Yep.
can't pronounce that.
Well, no,
It's in the description. You just tap in the link and you go and watch the designs. The
that's not
wonderful.
gonna that's not gonna bring it. You have to put the slash en slash Elizabeth dot Mikotowicz because Legalaries, any artist can sign up with Legalaries and do what I'm
Oh,
doing.
oh,
So
okay.
they have lots of different artists. This is just my portal, so
Yeah.
that's why you have to put the slash en slash Elizabeth dot Mikotowicz. So make sure you add
Okay.
that
For
last
anybody
part.
who's watching, you search for that link. Is gonna be tagged there, and that will take you to Elizabeth's platform. I didn't know. I thought that Legaris was your website.
No,
Okay.
they're a
No, we're
really
gonna put the
great
correct
company in
link.
Canada. They're
Okay,
a
we're
really
gonna
great
put.
company in Canada.
Okay, we'll put the right link. So after this, you can always look for the right link on the description. And that's about it for today's show. We've been glad having you here, Elizabeth, and
Thank you for
the
having
stories that you
me.
shared. Yeah, we appreciate your stories, and we wish the best for you. We wish that
Thank you.
the bills that you're pushing go through, because we can hear they are important, and we wish you the best in your fashion also.
Thank you.
Yes. And something I would like to ask you before you go is to leave us with some few words that we should always remember. That always happens here at Now Tell Us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Laughter makes the pain go down easier. That is something I learned in life.
Wow. So keep
And
laughing.
like just I used to think my life was over because of what I went through and everything else, but I started looking at it like it's kind of like you break a beautiful piece of pottery and it's in a million pieces, but you can take those pieces and make a beautiful mosaic out of it.
That's beautiful. Now she's talking art. Yeah, this has been Now Tell Us. We really appreciate you once again, Elizabeth, for being with us here. All those people who have been watching us from the different platforms that we are live, thank you very much. You can always ask a question even after we've signed through, or leave a comment in appreciation, or just anything, say anything. We are open to hear anything from you. And that's about it for today. So I've been your host, Anthony Morore, and together with our guest today, Elizabeth Mikotowicz. You didn't tell me whether I'm getting it right.
Yeah, you got it right.
Yes, Elizabeth Mikotowicz, we are saying keep on laughing, because whatever it is that you're going through, as Elizabeth says, laughter is going to lighten it. On TikTok, they are sending love. I can see that. Someone saying
Oh,
hello.
thanks guys. You can feel free to follow me too.
Yes,
I'm
you
doing
can
a
follow
series
Elizabeth.
about
Yes.
I'm doing a series about the violence against women in prison. Well, I've
Mm-mm.
started it. I've been slacking because I've been dealing with dog crises, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So go follow Elizabeth on TikTok or everywhere else that she's available. That's about it. Bye for now. These I won't say nothing else. I will just say keep laughing, keep living, and keep the hope up. Bye.
Yes.
Bye.